So this happened a few months ago. When my grandfather passed away, he gave me, 19 male, his house, and my brother land. My mom, 50 female, works overseas where she met my stepdad, 51 male, and his kids, 16 female, 16 male. Then my brother goes to another country to get a better job. My mom then tells me that she and my stepdad will get married and will move in with me because they will sell their house. After a month, they move in with me. After a while, my stepdad gets bossy, trying to order me around the house and trying to make his child's chores be my chores. So here's where the story starts. In quarantine, I don't get out of my room often and sometimes cook for myself because they already finished eating. When my stepdad said to me that I need to get out of my room to socialize and help with chores, I said I already did my chores and make his kids do his chores because I'm not doing it. My mom then mediated the situation, but stepdad became salty and said my mom is taking my side. The next week he does it again. He said to me to help out on the house and do some chores. But I said to him I have already done it and checked the chores that my mom assigned for me to do. Then he started to yell, saying that I make his kids do more chores. I then said that say it to mom because she is the one assigning them. My mom yelled at us both and said that we need to have a family therapy session. We both agreed, but then his kid, 16 male, said that I need to pull my own weight, and it goes downhill. I yell at him that it's my house and that he should pull his weight. I then called him a leech that doesn't contribute anything. He then rages off to his room, and my stepdad says I have no right to yell at his son. I said that if he doesn't like me, he can get out of the house. My mom separated us and told me to cool down. The next day, I see that the family group chat is split, saying I was disrespectful, and others are with me saying I own the house. I don't know if I'm the a-hole, but please judge. Not the a-hole. Your stepdad sounds like he just wants to be the man of the house because he's older. This is your house. Understand that. Your stepdad needs to understand it as well. If you wanted to have rule over a house, they should have kept theirs. You're already doing more than enough by allowing them to live with you and basically letting them have majority of the house. If that isn't good enough for him, then yeah, he should get out. Start charging them a nominal rent and get a lease signed. This could get legally complicated if your mom's husband tries to claim tenants' rights, if and when you need them to leave. Also, this will be upsetting. There will be yelling, but it will establish the ground rules that this is your house. This boundary needs to be drawn unless you want your mom's husband to keep thinking he has control over you. Why is your mom assigning you chores in your own house? Make them act right or they can pay rent. Everyone sucks here. Your mom and stepdad for obvious reasons, and you for letting them run over you and literally taking over your own house. Update. I asked them to pay rent, but they said no, so I booted them out, and my mom divorced my stepdad because he cheated. My mom lives with me now. My mom and dad used to be married on and off for at least 23 years. During that time, they had me, 22 female, my brother, 19 male, and my younger sister, 16 female. They do love each other, but they didn't have the most stable relationship. Even during the times they were broken up, he still lived in our house. They just were not in a relationship. It was really complicated. They got a divorce 3 years ago, and after so many years, my mom came clean about how their relationship actually was. My dad was apparently cheating on her with multiple people throughout their marriage and was addicted to gambling as well. The reason they got divorced was because he once again cheated and left a woman pregnant. I've met my new sibling, and she's 3 now, and my dad got in a relationship with the mom but broke up afterwards. Fast forward to now. My mom met a guy 2 years ago, and she's been in a relationship with him since. I never actually cared about him. He's just some average guy, nothing special. I've moved out of the house and I live with my brother, but my younger sister still lives with mom. On Sunday, she gave us a call and told us she needs us in the house ASAP. We went there, and she started flashing her engagement ring and her excitement, and that's when I got upset. And I'll tell you the reason I got upset. My father got diagnosed with cancer 6 months ago. Doctors are saying he's doing okay, but everything could change any time. I got upset my mom got engaged at this time because she knows it's a time my dad's struggling, and I'm so mad at her for accepting, but also to her new fiancé for proposing in the first place, knowing how my dad is ill. I told my mom I'm not giving her my wishes or approval, and that she or her fiancé should have talked to me, my siblings, or my dad before making a move like this, and I can't imagine how insensitive she is to my dad's condition, getting engaged now while he's going through that. My brother agreed with me, but my younger sister snapped at me and said how ridiculous I sound and how Mom deserves to be happy and not think about Dad's feelings for once, despite his illness, and that it's selfish of us to expect her not to move on with her life after what our dad put her through. My mom has also been crying since then, and my sister said I ruined her happy moment by being a whining little crap. Am I the a-hole? Yes, the a-hole. Life doesn't stop. He's your father, but he's no longer your mother's husband. Moreover, he was a crappy husband. Take care of your father, but don't expect your mother to do so. Yes, the a-hole. He's just some average guy, nothing special. I'm sorry for being harsh, but that sounds like an upgrade. She has no obligations towards your dad, and since you have nothing bad to say about her fiancé, he might just be a decent guy. And 3 years after a divorce is a perfectly reasonable amount of time before moving on. Your sister is absolutely right. You have every right to feel bad about it, but your actions sucked. Yes, the a-hole. Your mother doesn't need anybody's permission to do anything. Your father treated your mother like crap for years. Why should she put her happiness and her life on hold for a man she's not married to anymore? My husband, our 2 kids, and myself live in the house that he purchased with his deceased ex-wife. After she died, he continued to live there with his daughter, Alyssa. He and I met and got together when Alyssa was away in college, about 5 years after his wife died. When we first got together, he mentioned to me that the house was to go to Alyssa, as that was his ex-wife's wish. I didn't really pay attention as we had only just started dating. Fast forward 10 years. He and I are now married with our 2 children, Ben and Stella. After a series of health crises last year, he told me he wanted to put his affairs in order. Apparently, that includes putting Alyssa's name on the deed and getting us another place. I had several issues with this. 1, we would never be able to afford the equivalent of this place. It is a great community, but very expensive. We would have to move to a smaller place and a less desirable area. 2, we're in one of the best school districts in the area. Anywhere else is going to be a downgrade for my kids. 3, I don't feel like Alyssa deserves it. She has declined to meet me because she was uncomfortable with our relationship and has never acknowledged her siblings. She has a close relationship with my husband, however, and he does not see anything wrong with this. I'm not sure if I'm being an a-hole because this house was promised to Alyssa, but that was before my husband and I got married and had 2 kids. I personally think his 2 minor kids trump an adult. Am I the a-hole? If the house was paid for entirely before you and your husband married, his daughter is entitled to 100% of the house. It was an asset before marriage, and it's not your husband's fault nor his daughter's fault if you didn't discuss this further before you married. He was forthcoming. You tried to change the understanding years later. Yes, the a-hole. Yes, the a-hole. 1, it's not your house. It's your husband and Alyssa's mom's house, and Mom wanted it to go to Alyssa, and so does your husband. It was already determined to be her inheritance. It's not yours. 2, school districts matter, but it isn't your house. So use of the nice school district was always dependent on your husband and his deceased wife allowing use of the house. You're not entitled to it. 3, pure nonsense. You don't get to decide if Alyssa deserves the house. Your husband and his deceased wife already decided that before you married, and told you that, point blank, before you were married. Liking you is not a condition of her inheritance. By the sound of it, your husband is a smart man. He knows you're going to try to steal Alyssa's inheritance and is making sure you can't by giving her the house now while he's alive. It may not even be his. He may just be a trustee of Alyssa's inheritance given that it was purchased with Mom's money. And that means it may not even be his place. He may be just a trustee or an equal parts owner with Alyssa. And since it may not be his house, likely in trust, and definitely is not yours, you can't do anything to stop it. Because you would, and intend to do whatever you can to ensure she doesn't get her inheritance. What you're trying to do is called theft. Not a good look. Like I said, he's a smart man. You're a mess, and being ridiculous. Knock it off and go buy a house of your own with your husband like a normal couple. And then you can decide what to do with your shared home, rather than trying to control and steal Alyssa's inheritance. Honestly, I don't know what to say about this. My late husband, 33, passed away from chronic condition 3 years ago. He was the love of my life, the one person I was truly blessed to have had in my life, even if it was for a short period of time. He was my first and last, but he dated his ex-girlfriend for 6 years. She left because she couldn't handle his sickness, and then I met him at the hospital. To be frank, He was in a bad mental health when I met him because of what his ex did. It took quite some time for him to put it all in the past, but he said he fell for me instantly. She was close to his family. She was there for the funeral. My mother-in-law even gave her some of his belongings as keepsakes, although I protested. And now I heard that she named her newborn after him. My mother-in-law posted it on Facebook like it was somehow her grandson, but she was bragging about the fact that the baby was named after him. I was upset, knowing this days after our 3rd marriage anniversary, no less. I feel uncomfortable. My in-laws keep acting like his ex was his wife, and this baby is their child. I love my in-laws, but I can't help but feel uncomfortable by their behavior. I'm thinking maybe I'm overreacting. I can't tell them to stop talking to his ex, but I don't know how to deal with this. Totally makes sense why the situation would be upsetting. I might disengage for a little bit and see where things go. Losing a child and then the ensuing grief can be disfiguring. I wouldn't see this as any rejection or invalidation of you. It's more probably his parents trying to hold on to anything they can. There's nothing you can do but limit contact with them. They are entitled to their do-over and fantasy family that she's providing them. For your mental health, unfriend them. Since in death your husband parted from you, you are no longer tied to them. Keep your memories of him alive in your own way. Live your life as he would have wanted you to. Try to move on. You dated your late husband for 4 months, and you were married for 3 weeks, just over 4.5 months. I don't say this to discredit your pain. You loved your husband, and I can't imagine how difficult it must be to have your time together cut so terribly short. You are absolutely allowed to hurt about that, and nobody can tell you that you can't. Update. So, mother-in-law and I ended up having a fight over this. She told me to leave her house, and we were both just lashing at each other when I told her about how the post she made hurt my feelings as her son's wife. Honestly, I feel so devastated. Everyone kept pointing out the fact that I was with him for a short period of time, which is 11 months. And that somehow makes his relationship with his ex more serious than what I had with him. I'm tired and lost. My family keeps blaming me for getting involved with a sick man, and my in-laws, who I consider to be my second family, kept rubbing in my face that his ex is better and more important than me, just because she had 6 years with him. Don't want to sound mean, but I was the one who saw him at his worst and still stuck around because I saw beyond his health issues. I saw the goodness of his heart, the exceptional kindness and sense of humor that he showed me till the very end. I feel rejected, abandoned, mistreated, and alone with only bittersweet memories of him that aren't anywhere near enough for me to live with. I don't think I'll ever feel this strongly about someone else. I've decided to leave town in the next 2 months, at the end of this year, hoping for some peaceful space and a clearer view on my future. I have a close friend who will help out. She always does. And hopefully I'll be able to heal from all of this and continue to grieve on my own terms and pace. I, 47 male, have a sister, female 42, and brother, male 39. Our widowed mom died recently. Her will surprised us with a large sum of savings and investments. Parents sold their house to help pay for assisted living. The remainder we knew was in savings, but expected 35 to 40,000 pounds. Estate is worth 6 to 7 times that. Will was written when both parents were alive. Items bequeathed to us we've had since house was sold. One of 3 shares accounts and companies Dad worked for are assigned to each of us. Money and savings is to be shared equally between all living grandchildren, in trust until they turn 18. We think they decided this as they were selling up, but wanted their grandchildren to have an inheritance. We had a nice upbringing, but we aren't close now as we're 200 miles plus apart. We do remember birthdays and gather every Christmas. My sister and I have 3 kids each. Our brother is happily married to a wonderful man and was always open about no desire for children. His sexuality was never an issue, and while his amazing wedding was after Dad died and Mom too frail to attend, his partners were included in family events, and his husband always attends our gatherings. Basically, he hasn't been written out. He's simply not benefiting because he doesn't have children. My sister and I won't receive money, but we benefit in that we won't be solely helping our under-18s with first car, university costs, etc. And our 21-year-olds' deposit for their first house is kick-started. Our brother is upset, but isn't making a fuss. Neither sibling needs money, and we inherit approximately 12,000 pounds in shares each. But we have mortgages. A chunk could be paid off, if you know what I mean. I'm the executor, my wife, brother-in-law, sister's husband, and I feel it's unfair on my brother, and the money should be divided by 9. He'd be very grateful if I do this, but he's not intent on contesting the will. My other brother-in-law refuses to comment. My sister disagrees. She wants me to obey Mom's wishes and give each grandchild an equal share, saying our brother missed out due to his own choice not to have children. I'm torn. We decided not to tell our kids until after probate, so they wouldn't go mad mentally spending their inheritance. But I've spoken to my 21-year-old son. I suspect my sister has told my nieces, as my kids have seen their cousins talking about holidays, cars. My son feels we should divide the money by 9, as he's very fond of his uncle. I've not told my 17 and 12-year-old, but I'm sure they'd agree. My sister is usually a lovely person, if not a little materialistic. And if she's told her daughters, it's her business. But my 21-year-old feels they've been told and versed to argue for obeying Grandma's wishes if I divide the money by 9. If I defy the will, I cause a family rift. If I obey, my conscience will only be eased by sharing my kids 50% with my brother, while my nieces get 50% between 3. A bit unfair. I've decided to split the money by 9 so everyone is included. After costs, that's at least £25,000 each, so not small change. Am I the a-hole for defying Mom's will? If you divided by 9, you would be the a-hole. Your parents wrote their will to ensure that their grandkids get a leg up in the world, not you and your siblings and your spouses. You'd be taking from the kids to give to financially stable adults. Follow your mother's will. Yes, the a-hole. Follow the will as written. Wills are not mere suggestions. Your parents explicitly stated how they wanted to distribute their estate. If you try to circumvent that, you will likely lose in court, and a good portion of your inheritance will go towards probate lawyer fees. Edited to add that your nieces, and children for that matter, shouldn't be forced to sacrifice a portion of their inheritance to soothe your conscience. If you are so worried about it, give your brother money from your inheritance.